Hi everyone, before I get started, can you hear me okay? Can you type in the chat box below that you can hear me sufficiently? Cool, right, let's get started. So this webinar is all about the difference between a bookkeeping and an accounting qualification. So my name is Nick Craggs, I'm the AAT Distance Learning Director at First Intuition, so I'm in charge of anything to do with AAT distance learning, to be honest. So I don't do classroom, I don't do ACCA or CIMA, everything I do is AAT and it's all online. I've been teaching AAT for a few years now, yeah, get on 7 now. But what we're going to talk about today is the AAT Accounting Qualification and the AAT Bookkeeping Qualification. For many, many years, AAT was just level 2, 3 and 4, and that's what you did. And there wasn't any sort of variation on that, and if you want to say you're a member of AAT, you have to do AAT's levels 2, 3 and 4. Now AAT have appreciated that some people want to learn about double-entry bookkeeping, some people want to be able to do VAT returns. Not everyone wants to learn about fixed overhead variances. Very few people do, to be honest, which come at level 4. But to work for yourself, get a practice license, be a member of AAT, you had to go through levels 2, 3 and 4. And so AAT wasn't really the best fit for everyone. So what AAT decided to do to try and make it sort of a more relevant qualification is they've taken certain bits from the main accounting qualification and rebadged them, and there's now this completely separate bookkeeping qualification. Now, before I go any further, I've already referenced AAT's levels 2, 3 and 4, and that's what they have been for many, many years. With the launch of the new accounting qualification, which came in September 2016, AAT rebadged them. So they're now called the foundation level, the advanced level, and the professional level. So they're the equivalent of levels 2, 3 and 4. What we teach hasn't really changed one iota, to be honest, but it's just got a new name. Some of the ways we assess the exams are slightly different, but we still cover the same subjects at the same levels. It's just now what was 2, 3 and 4 is now foundation, advanced and professional. So I should say, if you've got any questions or queries at any point in time, just ask in the chat box below. Don't feel you have to wait to the end. But let's get started. So there's 2 different routes. So the accounting route is traditional foundation certificate in accounting, the advanced diploma in accounting, and the professional diploma in accounting. Don't get too hung up on what's the difference between the certificate in accounting and the diploma in accounting. It's all to do with funding and exciting stuff like that. So there's more guided learning hours suggested at the advanced level and professional level. Therefore, it's the diploma. Therefore, it qualifies for more funding. Don't worry about that. So the accounting route is traditional foundation, advanced and professional. Now, the bookkeeping route, you've got 2 bookkeeping qualifications at the foundation level. So you've got the foundation certificate in bookkeeping. That teaches all about manual double entry bookkeeping, which no matter how far you go with your studies, you really, really need to know. I mean, I remember when I did AAT and then I went off to do my chartered exams, and I was sat next to a guy who got straight into chartered. He was obviously very, very clever, and he was really struggling with one of the questions because he knew all the financial reporting rules and things like that. He just didn't know double entry bookkeeping to journal the correct amount over. So that the foundation certificate in bookkeeping covers the double entry bookkeeping, which is crucial. But there's also like a side qualification at the foundation level. So you've got the Foundation Award in Accounting Software. So that will teach you how to use a piece of computerized accounting software. To be honest, every training provider, we use Sage. Sage, rightly or wrongly, is probably the most popular bit of accounting software for small and medium-sized businesses. But it's very standalone. There is no sort of follow-on units for the Foundation Award in accounting software. It's just that there will teach you not everything you need to know about using accounting software, but it will teach you from setting up a business, entering some transactions, entering some invoices, paying them off, reconciling the bank, and running a few reports. And then foundation certificate in bookkeeping, that goes into the advanced certificate in bookkeeping, and it stops there. Now I'm going to go through into the actual units as what we cover, and in the bookkeeping route, and then into the accountancy route, and you'll be able to see how you can go from the bookkeeping route into the accountancy route. So it doesn't have to be a case of you choose, say, the bookkeeping route and you're stuck in the bookkeeping route. It's not the case. You can go from the bookkeeping route into the accountancy route. So that they because you'll see, we'll get into them now. Actually, we'll show you the units, so you can see that they are the same units, the same exams you'll sit in both qualifications, but the Foundation Certificate in Bookkeeping is just a bit smaller. So the Foundation Certificate in Bookkeeping has got 2 units. You've got the Bookkeeping Transactions unit, which is assessed by 1 exam, and then the Bookkeeping Controls unit, which is assessed by 1 exam. And traditionally, ideally, you study Bookkeeping Transactions, sit the exam, pass it, Bookkeeping Controls, sit the exam, pass it, and then you've got the Foundation Certificate in Bookkeeping. So in terms of what we'll study in these 2 units or this qualification, Bookkeeping Transactions brings in a lot of manual double entry bookkeeping, which not everyone does on a day-to-day basis now in practice, but you need to know, because Sage, Xero, whatever you're using, it's using double entry bookkeeping behind the scenes, and something will go wrong as it does, and you need to be able to go in, use your double entry bookkeeping knowledge to correct it. That's just life. So Bookkeeping Transactions covers like day books, entering them into the main ledger, and double entry bookkeeping. Bookkeeping Controls takes that a little bit further, and we'll start doing like correcting journals where you'll need to know your double entry bookkeeping. It brings in things like the wages control account to make sure you've entered your wages journal correctly. It'll bring bank reconciliations to make sure that all your entries within the bank account are correct. So that's quite a nice entry unit, I like, because it's quite short. Typically students will do that in about 8 weeks, and it gives you the double entry bookkeeping knowledge that you really need. And to be honest, you could do that and go straight into the advanced accounting qualification if you've got a bit of, say for example, you worked in an accounting practice, because double entry bookkeeping, it is so important. If you don't know that, you really will struggle. But some of the other units, and I'll show you what they are in the accounting qualification, if you work in practice, it wouldn't be the end of the world if you didn't study them, because you've already got a lot of that knowledge, I would say. So that's the Foundation Certificate in Bookkeeping. So you've got 2 units, 2 exams. Moving on, you can then go from the Foundation Certificate in Bookkeeping to the Advanced Diploma in Bookkeeping. It's slightly longer, and the units are slightly bigger as well. So you've got the Advanced Bookkeeping unit. You follow that with Final Accounts Preparation unit, and then Indirect Tax. Now, I think these 3 units are a really good qualification for, this is the point you could go as a self-employed bookkeeper, because it covers indirect tax. As a bookkeeper, you're not really much use to people. If you can enter all the transactions into the accounting software or the main records, but if you can't do the VAT return, no one's going to get you as a bookkeeper in to do that bit, and then get someone else just to press a button to do the VAT return. So it is really important. So we've got 3 units, 3 exams. The Advanced Bookkeeping unit, I quite like it as a unit. It's one of my favourites. And what we will teach there, we'll teach a bit about, we'll bring in like the accounting adjustments that you make at the year end. So we'll bring in things like depreciation, accruals and prepayments, which everyone loves. And we'll prepare like an extended trial balance, again correcting journals, because they are really important. And even if you didn't want to prepare final accounts, like a profit and loss and balance sheet or statement of financial positions, as we should say, I think it's really important that a bookkeeper knows that, because even if they say, I'm never going to do accounts, I just want to be a bookkeeper, it's really important that they know what they're aiming towards. So I think that's crucial for all bookkeepers, even bookkeepers that just don't want to touch final accounts. Speaking of final accounts, the next unit is actually called Final Accounts Preparation. And what we'll cover there is partnership accounting, so that's businesses where there's more than one person in business. We'll also cover incomplete records, which for any of you who do work in practice, you've seen the bag of receipts that lands on your desk. It's not nice, it's not pretty. And so in that unit, we'll teach you sort of little tricks and skills you can use to try and make sense of the madness. So if you know this figure but not that, how could you work that out? So it is a really good unit for people who do work in the real world where things go wrong. And as I mentioned, indirect tax, VAT, it is something that loads of business have to do a quarterly or monthly return, and if you can't do that as a bookkeeper, you are going to struggle. So not just will we cover preparing the VAT return, we also cover the sort of different VAT schemes, everything. So you'll advise your clients whether it's better to do cash accounting, whether they would be better off using like a flat rate. if there's a partial exemptions problem. So it is the sort of skills that a bookkeeper really needs. So I think that's a great qualification. So that brings us to the end of the bookkeeping route. So what used to happen is if someone would finish level 3 and they would say, right, I've learned everything I need to know. I don't want to go on to level 4. It just does not interest me. It doesn't give me what I need for my job. So they just fall off the AAT radar. And I have heard this referred to internally with AAT, this is before the bookkeeping qualification, as droppers and stoppers. So droppers are people who drop out of the qualification for whatever reasons, and stoppers are people who've like, yep, I've learned everything I need to know. AAT has given me the skills I need, and I've stopped. I don't want to learn anymore. And then traditionally they've just fall off the AAT radar. They have no sort of relationship with AAT. But last summer, AAT brought in their bookkeeping membership. And this is available for people who've completed the Advanced Diploma in Bookkeeping, or to be honest, you can get it after the Advanced Diploma in Accounting. And it's proven really popular. So you are a member of AAT, you get designated letters after your name. So you get AAT QB, stands for Qualified Bookkeeper, not QuickBooks, and you get that after your name. And you've got a relationship with AAT, so you get a monthly, well, not monthly, bi-monthly magazine. You get lots of support as I'm a bookkeeper, you get career support, things like that. Whereas traditionally, if you just completed level 3, you got nothing, you just fell off the radar. So it's really good, and it keeps you within the AAT fold, and some might think it's a bad thing, some it's a good thing. You're bound by the AAT's rules, so you have to maintain CPD, you have to abide by their code of ethics, which I'm sure you all do, but it's good to be in that regulatory framework. So it costs £99 once you've done your AAT bookkeeping qualification and you get your designated letters. It's, I think it's great money. So one thing you can do after you've got your bookkeeping membership, you can apply for a practice license. Now this is a separate qualification. So if you want to be a self-employed bookkeeper, and if you want to be a legal self-employed bookkeeper, you need to be regulated for money laundering. And what that means is you need to have someone to go to say, I've seen something slightly suspicious with one of my clients, I have no proof, but it just looks suspicious to me and I want to report it. So if you were, as I used to do, account for a fish and chip shop and someone put a £10 note in the back pocket rather than through the till, from the bookkeeping records, you wouldn't be expected to pick that up. That's not something that you'll get in trouble for. If, however, you're doing the accounts for a fish and chip shop in Scarborough and suddenly there's £800,000 of cash coming from Colombia in small unmarked notes, you'd probably think that's a little bit suspicious and you need to have someone to go to. You just don't want to be in a position where the National Crime Agency come in, they go and collect all this money and they think, who's the bookkeeper? Why have they not said anything? So AAT traditionally wouldn't give you a practice license until you've done level 4. Now they will give you a practice license after you've done the Advanced Diploma in Bookkeeping, but you've got to have work experience. You've got to have someone who can say, yes, so-and-so has done work of this nature to this sufficient standard, and I think they are someone that I would recommend to get a practice license. So that's over and above bookkeeping membership, but it is an option. And that means you can work for yourself, work for who you want, when you want. It's really flexible if you've got problems with childcare and things like that. So that's a separate qualification, but it is something you would need work experience for. You don't need work experience for bookkeeping membership. You just need to have passed the exams, but you couldn't go and work for yourself and set up on your own. So that's the bookkeeping route. Moving on to the sort of traditional route is the accounting route, and this is what it's always been, but it's slightly changed now on AQ 2016, which is the new accounting standards which came in September. So this is 5 units and 5 exams, and you can see here we've got our 2 units that we've seen from the bookkeeping qualification. They are exactly the same, like literally you can use the same materials, you'll sit the same exam. So what you could do is sit the foundation certificate in bookkeeping, get your certificate straight away, so sooner you've already got a recognised qualification you can put on your CV, and then you could do the remaining 3 units and upgrade that to the foundation certificate in accounting, should you wish. So it is interchangeable. Now the only thing to bear in mind is if you were going to do that is now AAT has this overall grade. Previously you just passed or you failed. We don't say fail, we say you weren't yet competent, but you just got an overall pass. Now you do get grading, so you can get pass, merit and distinction. So if you get above 90% overall on your qualification, you will get a distinction, which is nice. If you convert units over from the bookkeeping qualification to the main accounting qualification, no matter how well you did, they will all be converted over at 70%. So just bear that in mind. But you can see how this is structured. We've got 5 units. So we've got the bookkeeping transactions and bookkeeping controls units, which previously discussed, exactly the same as the bookkeeping certificate units. And then we're going to add to that the elements of costing units. So that's all about management accounting. So you've got like the 2 facets of accountancy. One is traditional, you work in practice, we doing things after the event, recording financial transactions. Management accounting is like the other side. We're looking forward to the future. We're preparing, what do things cost. If we don't know what our products cost to make, we can't really put a price on them for them to sell. Very, very different. So there's obviously the argument, well, which is better, financial accounting or management accounting? I prefer financial accounting myself, but that's because of a practice background. But you'll get an wide experience with both with AAT, and as your studies progress, you'll get to know which one you prefer and which one you don't like. So that's elements of costing. Next one's work effectively in finance. Now this is the unit that I said it wouldn't be the end of the world if you just did the certificate in bookkeeping and went straight into the advanced level if you work in practice. So a lot of this is like basic office skills, literacy, numeracy. If you work in an office environment, you probably know most of this. It's things like, I'm popping out for lunch. Would you tell your colleague that you're going to lunch via an email, or would you write a formal letter? I mean, it's that sort of thing. So that there is more office skills, numeracy, literacy. It doesn't have its own exam though, which is slightly different. So that doesn't have its own exam like the 3 units you previously would have studied. It's assessed in what is known as the synoptic exam. Now, the synoptic exam is something which has come in new for the new accounting qualification, and it's something that can assess you on all those 4 units. So you've got to have all your skills up to date, and it's meant to be a bit more like you would do in the real world. So for example, it's going to be a scenario. So you wouldn't just look at booking transactions elements, the day books. You'd have to then say, well, how does that affect our management accounting and that sort of stuff? And it brings in a lot of written stuff, which traditionally AAT students struggled with when they went into level 4, having never previously done any written questions. So there'll be times you have to express accounting concepts to non-accountants, which sometimes when you're in practice, you have to do. So that doesn't have its own exam, it's assessed by the synoptic exam. And then on the end is the using accounting software unit, which is taken straight from the accounting software standalone qualification. That's got its own exam. It doesn't appear in synoptic, so we normally leave that to the end. So you study everything for your synoptic, and then you'll do this using accounting software unit last. So you've still got 5 years, still got 5 exams. It's just slightly different than your qualifications that you've got this synoptic exam. But you can see they are the 2 same units that you were taken from the certificate in foundation certificate in bookkeeping. So moving on to the advanced diploma in accounting, you can see we've still got the advanced bookkeeping, final accounts preparation, and indirect tax units, the exact same units from the advanced certificate in bookkeeping, but now we're adding management accounting costing. Now this builds on basic costing, and it takes the management accounting information that we've already done and just takes it a little bit further. So we start flexing budgets and calculating small variances and things like that. So this is what it should have cost, what did it cost, and then you think, why didn't it cost what we thought it would cost? So that's looking forward to the future and making budgets. So each of these 4 units have their own exams. Then we get to the end of the course, and then you've got ethics for accountants, which I'm not going to lie to you, isn't the most exciting unit, let's be fair. But it's very crucially important because it keeps you out of trouble. And if you do get in trouble, you can't plead ignorance because you know what you shouldn't have done. Really, really important. And then you've got spreadsheets for accounting. Now, spreadsheets, no matter where you work, are really, really important. When I worked in practice, I thought I was really good at spreadsheets, to be honest. And then I came to teach AAT when I studied AAT, it didn't have spreadsheets in, and there was loads I didn't know. And it's really, really good. It is real stuff that you use in the workplace, like pivot tables, VLOOKUPs, if statements. It's really, really good. It is real world stuff. However, you'll notice these don't have their own exams. These appear in the synoptic assessment. So you've got 6 units to study, but only 5 exams. But as the synoptic exam can test you on anything, you leave these to the end. And like I say, you could go from the advanced diploma in bookkeeping, sit in these 3 units, and then add the remaining 3 that you don't have to upgrade to the advanced diploma in accounting. But as I mentioned, any units you carry over will be transferred at 70%. So moving on to the last one is the professional diploma in accounting, which we all still call level 4. This is the end qualification, well, the last one you'll do under AAT. And this consists of 4 mandatory units. So you've got the budgeting unit, decision and control, financial statements for limited companies, and accounting systems and control. So budgeting and decision and control, they're 2 management accounting units. So you'll cover variances, you'll cover things like break-even analysis and things like that. And at level 4, we'll be bringing in written questions in every single exam. So in budgeting, you'll get a question and you'll be given a budget and a set of actual figures, and you will ask to comment to them. And if you say the company had a really good year, sales beat budget, you'll get no marks. My daughter can tell you one number's bigger than another. What we're looking for is something a bit more insightful, so when you get in the workplace, it shows you've got a bit of common sense. So we're looking at something along the lines of the company reduced its selling price by X% per unit. That meant that it was cheaper than its competitors, which meant the actual number of units sold went up by 200%. Therefore, overall revenue was up by 70% or something, just to show those linkages, and you know what causes this and what effect that will have on that, and just not looking at everything so insular. So that's the 2 management accounting units, and then you'll come to financial statements for limited companies, which, as you can imagine, is all about preparing the financial statements for limited companies. So we'll cover statement of profit and loss, statement of financial position, statement of cash flow. We cover a bit of group accounting as well, a bit of ratio analysis, and there's lots about international financial reporting standards. Quite a big unit, but I quite like it. And then the last mandatory unit is the accounting systems and controls unit. So this is all about spotting weaknesses in accounting systems and what you can do to overcome them. Now, if anyone has any sort of knowledge of AAT, they would be aware that at level 4 there was a great big 5,000 word project. That's now gone and has been replaced by the synoptic assessment. So we still teach the same stuff about accounting systems, but instead of a project, it's now assessed by a synoptic exam. So the synoptic exam will test you about the accounting system controls information, but also it can assess you on anything from these 3 units. So they're the 4 mandatory units that you have to do. You also have to do 2 from 5 optional units. So you've got a choice of business tax, personal tax, external auditing, cash and treasury management, and credit management. So in terms of what these would cover, so business tax is split quite nicely down the middle. You've got self-employed people and how much was their profits from trade, and then you've got corporation tax. Personal tax then links quite well with business tax. So in business tax, you'll calculate how much profit a self-employed person made. Then you'll take that profit and put it into personal tax and add in all their other income, like property income, employment income maybe, savings, dividends, and you actually calculate how much tax will be payable on that. And the other great addition I think is really good for personal tax for the new standards is the brought-in inheritance tax, which if you've got a house that's worth over £325,000, which lots of people do nowadays, especially if you live down south, inheritance tax is something you should really be thinking about. Even if you get to the end of AAT and think, I don't want to be an accountant, there's things in personal tax that will affect you for the rest of your life. I think it's a great, great unit. Now, external auditing is all about auditing, obviously, and it's all about making sure that the financial statements that someone else has prepared are correct. Now, auditing is very niche in terms of the subject because the audit threshold has now been raised to £12.5 million worth of turnover, which took a lot of businesses out of the requirement to have an audit. And if you don't need to have an audit, you don't get an audit because it costs money. So unless you work in audit, I wouldn't recommend doing auditing. There's lots of very well-paid auditors out there. But it is a restricted trade. As an AAT member, you couldn't be an auditor unless you work for someone else. So it is very, very niche. Now, moving on, you've got the cash and treasury management unit. I quite like that one, to be honest, and that's all about cash budgets. So if you make £100,000 worth of sales this month, but you only get 50% next month, 30% the month after that, 20% the month after that, and 5% go bad, but you've got to pay your suppliers next month, you've got to pay your employees this month. What's your cash figure over the next few months? And it also brings in, what's a good source of finance for your business if you need to borrow money, or if your business has money, where's a good place to invest your money? So I quite like that. And the last one is credit management. That's all about, it's not just getting money out of people and suing people. It's all about the systems of getting them in place. So who would you give credit to? How would you credit score them? Who wouldn't you give credit to? And that sort of stuff. So it's quite theoretical, but there's no point making a profit if you're not getting cash in. So credit management is a really important part of the business. But they don't appear in the synoptic exam. So students generally leave them to the end. Now, in terms of time scale, on average, the average student would do the foundation certificate in accounting in about 6 months, 8 months for the advanced diploma in accounting, and 12 months for the professional diploma in accounting. But as you can see, I've got all my certificates on the wall. Not one of them tells you how fast you did it. All the matter is you did it. But that's typical for how long it would take to get through those qualifications. Now, you can see there are the linkages between the foundation and advanced levels between bookkeeping and accountancy. You would struggle to go from the advanced diploma in bookkeeping into the professional diploma in accounting because you would have not covered any management accounting knowledge. And as you can see, we've got 2 big management accounting units there. So you would, if you did want to go into the professional level, you would have to have, at the bare minimum, and I don't suggest it would be good enough, do the management accounting costing unit at the advanced level in addition to the advanced bookkeeping qualification to be able to go into level 4. So at the end of level 4, the professional diploma, you can then apply for MAAT after your name. And that's the traditional membership designatory letter, so it's a member of the AAT, obviously. If you're a member of AAT for 5 years, you get FMAAT after you're a fellow of AAT. So that's a full membership of AAT. For that, you'll get bi-monthly magazine, you get lots of support. There's lots of, when you're a student with AAT, you'll get lots of e-learning that will help you pass the exams. When you qualify, that disappears and it's replaced by things to help you with your career. So there's a CV builder on there. There's a lot of CPD. You can go to the branch network meetings, which I really recommend, and you can meet like-minded people and network. So it is something that should hopefully prepare your career for the rest of your life. So that's membership of AAT. Again, there's a practice license opportunity. This is over and above the membership application. So you can be a member and not have a practice license, such as myself. For a practice license, again, you need work experience. You need someone to say, yes, you are a nice member of society. You need professional reference. And then it just means you are legal in terms of if you were offering accountancy or bookkeeping services on a self-employed basis. Now, you are restricted under the advanced certificate or advanced diploma in bookkeeping what you can offer. So you can only offer bookkeeping and VAT returns. You can't touch tax, you can't touch limited companies, and you can't do anything in terms of management accounting for businesses. At the professional level, if you've got work experience to back you up, you can do tax returns, you can do limited company accounts, but there is this experience requirement. And that's £136 per year. And when you're a full member, actually, you can pay in instalments, which is nice. So that's accountancy membership, and you can see how bookkeeping is a nice flow into accountancy. So if you weren't sure about AAT, is it the right qualification for you? Is accountancy the right qualification for you? You can start with certificate in bookkeeping, and although it's called bookkeeping, it is the 2 first units you'd study from the accounting qualification anyway. Try that, and it's obviously cheaper because the course isn't as long. You don't need to pay for as many exams, and the fees are actually less. So there's a £92 subscription as a student. You only pay that when you are on a accountancy qualification. So if you're on a bookkeeping qualification, you just pay a £41 admin fee, and then you can sit the exams. And for that, you still get the same amount of e-learning and everything from the AAT and access to the AAT sample assessments. So the foundation of bookkeeping is a great way to just try AAT, and it's not a case of you do it and then you think you like it and then you've got to do the foundation certificate in accounting. You've effectively done the first 2 units anyway if you want to do it. But like I say, if you've got a bit of work experience, there's no reason why you couldn't do the foundation certificate in bookkeeping and go straight into the foundation diploma in accounting. Cool. Has anyone got any questions about AAT in general, bookkeeping or accountancy qualifications? It's all the exciting bit where you can see people typing and you wonder what's going to pop up. Very good, very good. It's one of those things that payroll is something, when we worked in practice, you offered payroll because you had to, because the clients wouldn't go to one accountant for their accounts and another accountant for the payroll. You never made any money on payroll, but it's a service you had to offer to keep the clients happy. So payroll is one of those things that is changed now, because before, when I used to do it, you used to have those tax tables and fill all the P11s in and everything. It was real faff. Now it has to be with RTI, so real-time information. You have to use payroll software to tell HMRC every time you pay someone what they've been paid and what you've deducted off them. So you don't need as great in-depth knowledge of payroll as what you once did. But I'm not a great believer of let's just stick some hours in Sage payroll at one end and trust what it comes out at the other. There are lots of sort of payroll qualifications out there. AAT used to do a payroll qualification. They don't do it, and from what I've heard from speaking to them inside, they will never do it again. There's other options you can look at. You look at IAB, ICB. They do standalone payroll qualifications. You can just get a Sage payroll course off Groupon, or if you're really, really serious in payroll, you can do CIPP, which is Chartered Institute of Payroll Professionals. Very, very hard. That's for if you're administrating payroll for thousands of people. But there's lots of self-employed people out there who need a bookkeeper. It's a big step to then to go and take someone on and do the payroll. I mean, I do know bookkeepers who actually, they do bookkeeping and they just outsource their payroll. They don't make any money on it, but let someone else do it because it's not particularly interesting to them. They don't make loads of money on it. Whereas a lot of these sort of subcontract payroll things, they'll just do high volume and they can manage to make a profit on it. Sometimes I also think that's the better idea, is just outsource it, let someone else do it, let someone else have the problems with it, and they'll just fly through payroll after payroll after payroll. Whereas if you're flipping between bookkeeping, payroll, setting the systems up, and loading up your accounting software, putting two payroll, pay slips through, and closing it down, getting your printer on, printing them out, you're not going to make any money because it's just so much faff. You need to have a lot to make it worthwhile. But it is something that it's nice if you could offer it, but it's not the end of the world. Good question. Yeah, you would. There'd be no point you doing foundation certificate. Definitely not. The advanced diploma, I think, would probably be better because there's lots of things that just don't come up in SEMA. That a lot of the accounts preparation stuff isn't really covered at SEMA. The management accounting unit that you would get at the advanced level, you'd find a doddle if you'd done SEMA. But yeah, I think that would be the better option. I don't think going into the foundation certificate is the best use of your time or money. But just be aware, if you want to go self-employed, there is that work experience issue. So you need someone who knows your work in the last 2 years, who is senior to you, who it's not, it can't be a tutor or anything like that. They need to know the actual work you do in a day-to-day role. And what you'll do is you'll log what you do on AAT. They'll get an email and they'll say, Elaine says she can do this. Can she? And they go, yes or no. It takes 3 seconds at a time, but then you need to have that person to do it. You also need a professional reference. It can be the same person. That's someone to say that you are a fine, upstanding member of society. But yeah, there is that extra requirement. But in terms of studying, I think the advanced diploma is definitely the better option for yourself, Elaine. Has anyone else got any burning questions? I say my email address is sort of aat@fi.co.uk if you get anything that pops up. But yeah, it's around. Well, it depends how you study. You can, if you study via an online course, you can go very fast. I've seen people do it in 3 months. that's not the norm. Typically it takes 8 months. If you start a classroom course, you'll start in September and you will finish in July, provided you pass your exams first time. Classroom will move on regardless. But it's typical 8 or 9 months for the advanced diploma. But like I say, it's not a race. Great. Right, if anyone does have any questions that pop up over the next couple of days, you can get me at aat@fi.co.uk. But I appreciate you all coming. And like I say, any questions or queries, please do not hesitate to get in touch. Thank you. Bye.